Hey racers, JonRacer3 today back for a Hot Wheels tournament in 2022. Today we have 32 packaged Hot Wheels about to take on the Super 6-lane raceway to see which one of these 32 cars is going to be the fastest. Let's unbox them and let's just get right into the racing. Now, right before we get into the racing, I just want to let you guys know only a very small percentage of you are actually subscribed to the channel. So if you click the subscribe button down below and turn on the notifications on, it would benefit me very much. It's free and you can always change your mind. Now let's get into the racing. Our first two cars are amazing looking cars. We have the Ford Mustang Mach-E and the Nissan Leaf Nismo. But which one of these cars is going to be the fastest on the track? 2 out of 3 to find out. 3, 2, 1. And oh my gosh, it is an absolutely close race. We have the Ford Mustang Mach-E beating out the Nissan in race 1. They've switched lanes. Now see who takes it in 3, 2, 1. And it's going to be close, but the Mustang's going to take this one again in a photo finish. Next up, we have two red fantasy cars, starting off with GT Scorcher on the left and Muscle Blown on the right. I'm just going to call him Muscle. GT Scorcher also has this cool feature where you can lift up the bumper for some extra speed, which I am going to do. So let's go ahead and see who takes race 1 with these cars. 3, 2, 1. And look at that, it's going to be Muscle taking the first win, beating out GT Scorcher. They've switched lanes. Let's see what Muscle and Blown can do in lane 2. Yep, and it's going to be Muscle and Blown taking the win again, moving on to the next round. Next up, we have two hatchbacks with the Mercedes-Benz A-Class and the Ford Focus RS. It's a Mercedes and Ford showdown in race 1. Look at that, it's close, but not really. The Ford takes the first race. Here we go, race number 2. Ford is up 1. And it's going to be the Ford sweeping both races, beating out the Mercedes. Next, we have a convertibles exotics matchup. We have an Audi R8 Spider versus an Aston Martin V12 Speedster. I know that R8 casting's fast. Let's see if the Aston Martin has what it takes. It's a close race, but the Audi's going to take race 1. Here we go, race number 2. And the Audi's going to sweep the Aston Martin, taking both races and moving on. Next up, we have some retro cars with a Honda N600 versus a Porsche Outlaw. Honda or Porsche, let's see who takes it. And it's going to be the Honda taking the first race. Here we go, race number 2. And it's going to be the Honda taking the win again, moving on to the next round. Next up, we have a new for 2022 casting, a Ford Sierra Cosworth versus a Porsche Safari. Porsche's in lane 1, Ford is in lane 2. And it's a bad start for the Ford, but he's not going to be able to bring it back. The Porsche wins. Here we go, race number 2. It's going to be close, but it's going to be the Porsche taking the win, beating out the Ford and moving on to the next round. Next, we have the new for 2022 casting, the Porsche 935 versus a Greenwood Corvette. Let's see who takes it in race 1. Oh, and it is so unbelievably close. The Greenwood Corvette is going to sneak the victory. Here we go, race number 2. And it's going to be close again. The Porsche leading for the whole race is going to lose it to the Corvette at the very end. Wow. Next, we're getting into our 5-pack cars, starting off with the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento and the Aston Martin Vulcan. Here we go, race number 1. Wow, both of these cars are unbelievably fast. It's going to be close at the end, but it's going to be the Lamborghini taking the win. Here we go, race number 2. And the Lamborghini is going to hold a solid lead for this one. The Lamborghini is going to take the win and move on to the next round, beating out the Aston Martin Vulcan. Next up, we got more 5-pack cars. We have a Jaguar Project 8 versus a Renault Sport RS01. Here we go, starting with race 1. And it's going to be the Jag in lane 2, taking the win. They've switched lanes. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. It's going to be the Jag winning both times, beating out the Renault and moving on to the next round. Next up, we have the new Porsche Taycan Turbo S versus a Dodge Viper. Here we go with race number 1. And look at that, the Porsche with the all-wheel drive electricness in the car, getting a great start and taking the first win. Here we go with race number 2. And it's super close, but it's going to be the Porsche again taking the win, moving on to the next round. Next up, we have some Hot Wheels classics. We have Bone Shaker and Twin Mill. Here we go, 2 classics, race 1. And look at that, Bone Shaker is going to take a huge lead over Twin Mill in race 1. Race number 2, can Twin Mill bring it back? It doesn't look like it, as Bone Shaker's gonna take the win and move on to the next round. Next, we've got two more Hot Wheels legends. We have Baja Truck and Rip Rod. The Baja Truck's having a hard time fitting on the track, but let's see how he does. Anyways, Baja Truck not very fast, as we have Rip Rod taking the win. And since that's a DNF, we're just going to give Rip Rod the move on to the finals. We don't have to see the Baja Truck struggle again. That was unfortunate. Next up, we have the Cadillac ATS VR versus the Hot Wheels Mustang. The Mustang also has a cool feature where its bumper can lift up to make it even faster on the track. Cadillac versus Mustang, let's see who takes it. And it's going to be the Cadillac taking it in race 1. Race number 2, who's got it? It's going to be the Cadillac beating out the Mustang in race 2, moving on. Finally, we're on to a Night Burners 5-pack with a Dodge Viper and a Corvette. Let's see who's going to take it, Viper or Corvette. And it is a close neck-and-neck battle. It's going to be the Corvette sneaking the first race. Wow, that was close. They've switched lanes. Can the Viper bring it back? It doesn't look like it, as the Corvette holds a lead for this race and moves on to the next round. Next up, two beautiful looking cars, a Porsche 934 versus a Datsun wagon. Here we go, race number 1. And the Datsun has the speed to beat out the Porsche in race 1. Race 2, does the Datsun have what it takes? Good start from the Porsche, but not good enough. The Datsun's gonna come back and take the win, moving on to the next round. And finally, for our last match of the first round, we have a Ford Escort versus an Audi TT RS from Matchbox. And thanks Hot Wheels for the shout out. I appreciate it. Ford Escort versus Audi. Let's see who takes it. It's going to be the Ford holding the lead. I don't know what I was saying. The Ford moves on to the next race. Switching lanes. Let's see who has it. Audi with a good start, but it's not good enough. The Ford Escort's going to move on and be the last car to move on for the first round. And we have our victors set and ready to move on to the second round with some special rules. But first, before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor for this video.
This part of the video is sponsored by my friends over at Top Race. Top Race is an RC vehicle company dedicated to designing top quality RC models from planes, quads, helicopters, UFOs, and vehicles, as well as parts, accessories, and tools. They sent me over this awesome biplane. It's called the Sky Eagle. It's very lightweight and it's for beginners, so I decided, hey, I might as well try it out. I've always wanted a RC plane, and by golly, this thing is fantastic. Having never flown an RC plane before, I was super impressed about how easy this thing was to fly. It was so much fun, and it also has a lot of modes such as beginner, intermediate, advanced, so it's also very good for those of you who have flown RC planes before and are just looking for something fun. And like I said before, they have way more than just planes. They have drones, helicopters, cars, you name it. So if you're looking for anything RC related, go ahead and check out my friends at Top Race using the link in the description. Thanks Top Race for sponsoring the segment. Alright, it's time for round 2, and like I said, there's going to be a special rule. There's only going to be one race for this round, so all of the cars that I've worked hard to get here only have one chance to move on to the next round. The rounds after that will be a best 2 out of 3, but this one is rapid fire. Let's see who moves on. First up, we have the Ford Mustang Mach-E versus the Muscle Car. And it's close, but it's going to be the Mustang Mach-E beating out the Fantasy Car, moving on to the next round. Next up on the track, we have a Ford Focus RS versus an Audi R8 Spider. The R8 Spider has the speed, and he's going to get the flag, moving on to the next round. Next, we have the Honda N600 versus the Porsche Safari. And the Porsche Safari is going to hold a solid lead over the Honda the whole race. Porsche moves on. Next, we have a Greenwood Corvette versus the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento. The Sesto Elemento has the speed. A very fast casting, notorious for winning, is going to move on and beat the Corvette to the next round. Next up, we have a Jaguar versus a Porsche. Who's going to take it? The Porsche Taycan has the lead, but it's going to lose it to the Jaguar at the very end, going to race 2. And for our next match on the track, we have Bone Shaker versus Rip Rod, 2 Hot Wheels legends. It's going to be the Bone Shaker taking the win, moving on, beating Rip Rod to the next round. Next up, we got a Corvette with That Is Very Fast versus the Cadillac GTS R. And it's going to be the Cadillac taking the win, beating out the Corvette in a very close race. And for our final matchup of the second round, we have the JonRacer3 Ford Escort Vero going up against a Datsun wagon.
It's a close one, but the Datsun Wagon's gonna destroy the Escort at the very end. The Escort on its roof, and the Datsun moving on to the next round. With 8 cars remaining, we're gonna go back to being the best 2 out of 3 for these matchups to see which final 4 cars will move on to the semifinals. First up is the Audi R8 Spider and the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Let's see who takes it. It's close, but it's going to be the Audi taking the win, moving on to the next round with 1 win. It's time for race 2. Can the Mustang bring it back? He's got a good start, and he is going to bring it back. We're going to go back to a race 3. The Audi's got to hope for a good start here. Who moves on? It's going to be close, but it's going to be the Mustang beating out the Audi, moving on to the semifinals. What a comeback. Next up on the track, we have a Porsche Safari versus a Lamborghini Sesto Elemento. And it's going to be the Sesto taking the first win, beating out the Porsche. Here we go, race number 2. And it's going to be the Lamborghini winning the race, moving on to the semifinals, knocking the Porsche out of the tournament. Next up, we have the Jag Project 8 versus the Bone Shaker. Bone Shaker with a fantastic start is going to be the Jag in race 1. Race number 2, can the Bone Shaker take it? The Jag's got a good start, and he is going to sneak the win away from the Bone Shaker. We're going to a race 3. They switch lanes once again. Who's going to be the victor and move on to the semifinals? And it's going to be the Bone Shaker sneaking the win away from the Jag, moving on. And finally, who will the last car be in the semifinals? Would be the Cadillac or the Datsun. The Datsun with the straight line speed beats out the Cadillac in race 1. Race number 2, can the Cadillac bring it back? He has the speed, and he is going to bring it back again. Another race 3 going into the semifinals. All right, it comes down to this. Who's moving on? And it's going to be the Cadillac beating out the Datsun, moving on to the semifinals. That is unfortunate for the Datsun. Here are your 4 semifinalist cars. Who will be moving on to the finals? Who's going to win race 1? Is it going to be the Mustang or the Sesto? It's going to be the Sesto sneaking the win away in race 1. Here we go, race numero 2. It's going to be close, but it's the Sesto Elemento getting the second win, moving on to the finals. Next up, we have the Bone Shaker versus the Cadillac, who will be competing against the Sesto in the finals. It's very close right now, but it's going to be the Bone Shaker taking the first race. All right, can the Bone Shaker do it? Can he take another win and move on? Yes, he can. He's going to take the lead and win the race, moving on to the finals. Here is your finals matchup. Now, a little bit of a statistic here. This is the first time a Bone Shaker has made it to the finale of one of my videos, but it is not the first time a Sesto Elemento has. It is going to be a best 3 out of 5 matchup. First car to 3 wins will be the victor for today's tournament. Who is going to be your champion? Bone Shaker, Sesto Elemento, race 1. And look at that, a great start for the Bone Shaker is going to take the win. Here we go, race number 2. Oh, another great start for the Bone Shaker. One more and the tournament's over. The Sesto Elemento has quite the reputation for getting second in tournaments. Can the Bone Shaker make history and get first? Let's find out. Yes, he can with a great start. The Bone Shaker is going to be your champion today. A disappointing loss for that Sesto Elemento, but a fantastic win for the Bone Shaker as he takes it, moving on to the Tournament of Champions and being your champion today.
Thank you guys so much for watching this Hot Wheels tournament. If you like this video and you want to see more videos in the future, make sure you like the video, comment down below, and subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind after the fact. And I appreciate all the support you guys have been giving on the channel. And don't you worry, more tournaments are coming in the very near future. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
We need each other.